Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, Chip? What's going on, everybody out there in the YouTube world, in the On the Chain world? You guys know who you are. It's got a pop up here that my X isn't streaming. I'll have to fix that after. But hey, XRP just went multi-chain. You guys are reading all the news about that. A lot of cool things that are popping up. But if you think that's just another crypto update, you're completely missing what's actually happening because this isn't about one chain. No, it isn't. It's not even about crypto. This is about a shift in how value moves across the entire ecosystem. And once you connect that to institutions, man, liquidity and what's happening globally, Chip, this gets a lot bigger.
Yeah, when you start stacking everything that's happening right now, I mean, XRP expanding beyond its own ecosystem, huge institutional capital starting to move in. Then you got global pressure building across the financial system. It's not random, Jeff. This is what we call alignment. Let's break it down.
Welcome to On the Chain.
All right, so let's get into this, Chip, because this shift that we're talking about, it's already starting to show up. Today, we're going to break it down. What's actually happening here, why this isn't just another crypto headline. And now, first, XRP just went multi chain and what that unlocks, especially with it now moving into ecosystems like Solana. I think that was huge news and that shocked a lot of people. Then we're going to get into institutional flows because the capital is starting to move. And then that really changes the entire dynamic from there. We'll touch on what's happening on the XRPL itself because, and this is where it all starts moving beyond payments and into real infrastructure. Then we'll zoom out because what's happening globally and the geopolitics, and we got to get into that. Tons of energy in geopolitics and Chip. It's all directly tied to how liquidity is going to move, and it all impacts you and me.
100%. And Jeff, we're rocking our Ripple hats fresh from Swell of November of last year. They had two options. You could get a hat or like some candies. I'm like, well, if I eat the candies, they're gone. But a hat, the hat I can wear forever, maybe. So jumping right into it, Jeff, what you teased in the open here. So we got Solana. We've been hearing them teasing it about XRP 589. We've been seeing that for a few days. And there it is. Solana, official account at Solana on X. Breaking, XRP is live on Solana. Who would have thunk it, Jeff? Ripple X said, wXRP, which is wrapped XRP, now live on Solana, enabled by Hex Trust. We'll give those guys a follow. Regulated institutional digital asset market services, what Hex Trust is, custody staking for builders, investors, and service providers, and the leader of the digital asset solutions. And also Layer 0 Core, which is better money technology. Growing demand for XRP, driving liquidity. You mentioned it's all about liquidity, Jeff. Cross-chain, opening new paths across ecosystems, and expanding the overall market. Mr. Brad Garlinghouse chimed in. Jeff, why don't you take Garlinghouse? What did Garlinghouse say about this? What's his thoughts?
What are Garlinghouse's thoughts? Well, he said demand for XRP keeps growing. More access, more ecosystems, and more utility. That's what it's all about, Chip, right there.
You know what I want to add to that? More money is what I want.
More money.
More value, more money is what I want to add to that, because I think that it's interesting that, Solana has been a pretty friendly ecosystem overall. I think, if you think about what they've posted in the past, but also too, just putting XRP over there too, it makes a lot of sense. And this is where we talked about and kind of like teased in the open with, which is this cross-chain stuff is really important. It makes a lot of sense. And when you think about RLUSD, did they go on the XRPL first? No, they went on Ethereum. Why? Because that's where the people are. That's where the usage is. That's where the majority of it is. But the whole rollout was designed to be cross-chain.
Right.
100%, right?
That's exactly. Well, if you look at the actual, you get into the tech of the XRPL and you see how that infrastructure was built out really to facilitate multi-chain, especially flow of monies. So this is like a natural step. I was really, and we actually talked about it on the last show when it was like, hey, what exactly is Solana doing? Why is Solana talking about XRP? Well, here you go. and this is when we move out of the silo mentality and we move into the infrastructure, mainstream adoption, institutional adoption phase, because you can't continue to function in silo mechanisms any longer. It's all about bringing it together. It's taking advantage of the technology that each one offers, and that's what we're beginning to see. Plus, if you want to really look beyond just the crypto asset, but the communities themselves have been relatively isolating. So you had the blockchain maxis, then you had the Ethereum Foundation, and then you have the XRP maxis. And there's quite a few XRP maxis out there that believe that it's all about XRP, nothing else, and it has to be speculative. And we got to now we're starting to see, we're growing up in the space. We're moving from infancy beyond the toddler stage. And from this point, Chip, we're just talking about how fast AI is growing. I think we're going to see,
It's
some
amazing.
faster growth in this space too.
Well,
It's all
also, agentic AI agents is the blockchain space is perfect. Look who we got here. Bird Dog's in.
Bird Dog. Wow, it's been
Gosh, talk about OG space. My gosh.
ages.
Bird
Ages,
goes back to 2017. As far as I remember, Bird Dog was 9 years. Good to see you, Bird Dog. Good to see you indeed. I still love all the good mornings. People checking in. Good morning, Joe Buddy. There he is.
Working.
Sunny and rainy Caribbean. That's how it is down in the South. It rains and you think, oh my God, my weekend's ruined. And then 40 minutes later, it's sunny and you forgot it rained. That's how it works. Pittsburgh, PA in the house. Jeff, look at that. I fixed it right there. Now read that and tell me what that's on. This is Brad Garling's house. What it's supposed to say.
More utility, more money, more value, big price increase coming.
Yeah, I hacked it.
Yeah, I don't think you said that last part.
No, he didn't say that last part. I hacked that last part, but it's fun. It's fun to look at. Big price incoming. It should be question mark. Big price incoming, but no, that's not what he said. That was. Let me rephrase. There you go. Yeah, that's what he really said. So I couldn't have. You gotta have a little fun with that kind of stuff. And then Panos liked it too. Panos said more liquidity, more demand, more opportunities for XRP. XRP holders, futures multi-chain. We've been saying for years, Jeff, XRP will be everywhere. This is the whole point. It will be everywhere. And if you can wrap it and put it on Solana, you can pretty much wrap it and put it anywhere, which is fantastic.
Right.
Well, this Ripple said the XRP ETFs, the institutional era is now. For years, legal uncertainty, by the way, still going on, has kept institutional capital away from XRP. Regulatory clarity arrived. Futures markets launched. The path to institutional access opened. What follows is 1.5 billion in ETF inflows, 0 net outflows in a month, and Wall Street validation. What comes next? And this is really big, Jeff, because if you think about the other ETFs, you had Bitcoin, right? In, out, you have fluctuation in price. You had Ethereum ETFs, in, out, right? People dumping, people coming in. I think that one thing that shocked everybody is the ETFs for XRP have been steady. People are getting in, and this is like, if you're buying an ETF, maybe you don't have access to XRP yourself. Maybe you're getting in an ETF because it's part of your 401k. Maybe it's just an investment strategy. But if you're getting in on it, you're holding it. You're not up and down and dumping. It's amazing the inflows versus the outflows compared to the other ones. Why do you think that is, Jeff? Why do you think that XRP has been so stable, probably by a new crop of investors?
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. That we're going to start, seeing that definitely spike up as more and more kind of move to this space. But I don't think it's coming direct to XRP. I think it's coming to XRP, via you talk about the flow in the ETFs, but I believe that the attention to the ETF is coming through attention in the crypto asset ETFs, kind of in general, starting with blockchain. That's the attention grabber, and now as there was at least some positivity. We're seeing steady growth with the BTC ETFs. And that's what opened the door over to XRP ETFs, and this is going to be it's going to get a lot larger. I think we're just beginning to scratch the surface with it. Don't think the XRP ETFs have had the same momentum or movement that the Bitcoin ETFs had in the same period of time. So there has to be more inflow, more focus on it. But we're going to see more development is going to bring more attention to the ETF. We got to have more growth in it. That's the cross chain, the multi-chains. You also have Solana ETFs. So now what we're going to have to see is somehow more Bitcoin XRP crossover focus. Then we'll see more positivity there. It'll be good.
The XRP will be everywhere, but Steve Willett says the only place where XRP isn't going to be is Gensler's Christmas list. That is true. But it's funny, we were talking about ETFs, Jeff. Like, ETFs are coming, they're coming, they're coming. And then, oh, they're delayed. Oh, they're coming, they're coming. It was like, we didn't think we'd ever see them. And then when they came, it kind of shocked everybody, especially month one. Ripple put a blog post up on this about from courtroom to trading floor to XRP. ETF story doesn't begin with a filing. It begins with a regulatory clarity. And they're saying mid-25. Hopefully this will be put together. Trump posted about this. Like, let's get this done. Let's not have the banks holding this hostage. Let's let people make money the way people can make money, not really bar them from. It's the whole thing, a shakedown of an industry who doesn't. They're worried about outflows. Talk about outflows. They're worried about outflows. Well, build a better product. Build something. Have some innovation. Your innovation can't be like, we're going to hold your money from Friday to Monday, so that over the weekend on these $1 billion that we're holding of everybody collectively, we're going to make 4.5% on your money. That can't be your winning formula. Oh, you're going to get a 0.25% interest. Oh, thank you, generous souls. Where's the fun in all that, Jeff? It's a little bit insanely, geared towards banks. I'm like, you know what? Compete in the world. This is capitalism. If you can't build a better product, if you can't roll out innovation, and somebody rolls out a 7.25% yield, well, yeah, where do you think people are going to go? But to put in legislation that you can't make money on stable coins that cost people, what kind of crazy legislation is this? You're going to put a shakedown and say you can't do this. And who's holding it hostage? Well, it's our friends, the Democrats, as always. They're always against the people. That's how they sell their people out when it comes to illegals. They bring them in here. They want the voters, and this is how it happens. But the CME listed XRP futures was launched in May of 2025, became the fastest ever CME crypto futures contract to reach 1 billion in open interest, a milestone that understood the depth of institutional appetite for XRP exposure. By November, the preparation crystallized into a wave of spot ETFs that launched that would fundamentally expand how institutions assess the asset. So Canary Capital's XRPC debuted on NASDAQ on November 13th, went on to be the most successful ETF launch of 2025. First day trading volume across any asset, not just crypto. Bitwise's XRP ETF followed on November 20th. Then came Grayscale's GXRP on the New York Stock Exchange. ARCA, November 24th, Franklin Templeton's XRPZ and 21 shares TOXR, followed in short order by Rex Osprey's XRPR, offering the earliest spot exposure that's been done. So, and then they go on to talk about the numbers, with 5 spot ETFs trading in the US, over 769 million XRP tokens locked across their combined custody arrangements. The XRP launch surprised a lot of people, despite a lot of challenging overall crypto market. That's the other thing too, is a down crypto market. We saw Bitcoin falling. We saw the whole market in red for a long time, and yet this persisted, right? JP Morgan says that the XRP ETFs may attract between $4 to $8 billion the first year of inflows. Goldman Sachs, Grayscale, and Wall Street give it validation. So it's that was probably the big story of last year, was the XRP ETFs.
That's it.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
What's the big story?
Look at this. I wanted to put this up. What did I see in here? I saw a comment in here. Nope. Did I see it? No, maybe not. This is true, though. Without Gary Gensler, I would not have had those 4 summers to buy XRP. Cooked ass Gary is my homie, says Joe Buddy. There you go. He's my homie. He's my homie.
It took time to percolate and develop. Think about without the lawsuit, how much focus, attention would there have been in building different communities? Would Here you see, there was some momentum. A lot of people came together. We saw what was possible, with John Deaton bringing that intervention and seeing, 78, 80,000 people coming together to intervene against the SEC. That hasn't really been done before. So in the absence of a lawsuit, that never would have happened. If that never happened, John Deaton wouldn't have had a political career, in the direction that he's running for
100%.
Senate a second time. There would have been lesser involved people within the community that stepped up to make a difference within the community. Not saying, who knows what the direction would have been. Would we have had this attention and focus? Would there have been as much even growth in mainstream on the main street if there hadn't been attention over the lawsuit? Because think about what that did. From that perspective, it kind of highlighted, underscored that, hey, we need to do something with legislation when it comes to crypto asset, because before the lawsuit, it was falling on deaf ears. Nobody in Congress was talking about it. You have a massive lawsuit against the SEC or with the SEC against a major company. All of a sudden, everybody has to focus on it. It's a major topic. So I think we were right in the beginning, though, Chip, when we said this is probably going to end up being the path to clarity over XRP, and it's going to end up being a net positive.
Yeah, we said that at the time when it was filed that we might want to send chocolates to the chair because it may have done the ecosystem a big favor, and neither you or nor I thought it would drag on for almost 3 years, 3+ years, whatever.
Wow.
I mean, we never thought it would be that long, but it did drag on for a long time. It did take all this institutional stuff, but Ripple was on the sidelines scheming, thinking about their acquisitions, and all of a sudden, at that thing, that clarity, boom. 6 months later, you start seeing these acquisitions lining up to be one of the most powerful financial services fintech companies of all time. They got a 50 billion of value, valuation now. That'll be 100 billion before you blink an eye. Evernorth, go ahead.
Hey, look at that. That's coming from Sammy, man. Bogner Regis, UK. First live I've caught. Look at that. Welcome. Glad you're here with us. By the way, your historic videos don't show up on YouTube. I've gone in to find one. I've missed and only see ones about a year back.
Subscribe and unsubscribe. So unsubscribe, go subscribe, and then click the bell again.
We're it could be that you're on the chain. Maybe they're on the chain. This is On the Chain Live. We did have another channel out there, and we probably have to end the confusion because we're putting short clips over on that one. But the live, On the Chain Live, which is where you're at right now, which is good. But we are cleaning out the algorithm too. So
yeah, it's starting to pick up again. It's good, thanks to Jeff's efforts in analyzing and studying. But Evernorth is put out this nice little post over here. New documentation drop for the XLS 100 Smart Escrows on the XRP ledger. If you've been watching XRP evolve beyond payments, this is worth paying attention to. So these Smart Escrows, programmatic escrow on XRPL is looking more likely. This is good because you need programmatic. It needs to be programmable 100%. So two applications can lock funds and then have them release automatically when an Oracle confirms confirmation is met. Very much like a smart contract, right? Reducing reliance on the manual sign-offs. So this is big. So you can certainly set these up at scale, and you don't have to have that manual sign-off that it'll automatically, go. And then you got a few use cases that start to make more sense. You got cross-border payments that settle only when a price Oracle confirms an agreed FX rate. And you got a lending protocol where collateral is released programmatically once the payment is verified on chain. Does a verification, boom, token unlock tied to a live data feed, revenue target hits, funds move. Again, this is a big this is going to take the bottleneck out of escrows. And then what makes it different from traditional escrow is both sides can be applications, not necessarily people. So the Oracle is a data source. The escrow logic reads natively versus a law firm or a title company that manually decides. So you're kind of taking that human component out of it. This is where the XRP ledger starts looking less like payments rail and more like programmable settlement infrastructure. It's like moving money, enforcing the conditions around it at a protocol level. Jeff, this is huge, really, quite honestly. This is a nice development.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. I like to see these types of changes. This types of
yeah, especially when you're removing bottlenecks and you're solving an actual problem, right? And you have oracles versus actual people out there. Wendy O, used to be primarily covering ETH, right? But Ethereum, she's very, very involved in the XRP community. She does a lot of stuff. She's been very friendly. She does great work too. I enjoy her podcast. I usually learn about a lot of stuff because lately Jeff, I mean, what Anthropic's been shipping lately has blown my mind. What companies would release in a year, Anthropic released in a day, 24 hours. They shipped 6 new things that are all mind blowing. And I'm like, I don't know how AI is just changing the speed at which company, Anthropic uses AI to do their coding. So they use it to do their building. And, Jeff and you and I have been building stuff as well. And we are reviving an old project of ours from the annals of history. And we are reviving that project and we're building it. So there you go. Talk about builders on the XRPL. You're looking at them right here because we're solving a real problem and we're targeting a real market. And it's time to get out from behind here talking about it and start doing it, Jeff.
We're going to do it. Going to be done.
XRP is AI for finance. There you go. And also too, I got another thing that I'm working on as well, which has to do with an agentic AI agent. And because what's going to happen is the blockchain is so perfectly set up for AI, especially agentic. Agentic just meaning that it can do things on your behalf. It can go in and buy stuff. It can go ahead and move stuff. You can set rules around it and say like, hey, if this happens, you don't have to be paying attention, and it can go do stuff, right? So this is going to be the thing. And agents talking to agents being able to check into certain locales to see what's going on. You're going to have AI agents will be this extension of you, and they'll all be programmable, and it'll be your better half because you're not waking up at 3 a.m. when the price takes a dip or something happens, or you need something to happen. That's where it's all going. And I think it's a huge development. And I think that the people that are there first are going to really sort of win. So there's our first part of it. And I think it's time, Jeff, to transition to our geopolitical stuff. And I saw we've got some, I saw we got Dazzleford in here, afternoon from the UK, much respect. We're about to cover some UK news, man. And, I have so many friends in the UK that are not happy right now, Jeff, that are and I really want them to win.
How can they be happy over there?
I really want them to win big because they're great people, man. And it breaks my heart. I've been over there so many times. I love, a lot of people don't like, English food. I happen to love it. I love traditional British breakfast. I love, pub grub, as they call it. I love it, man. I love the whole culture. I love everything about it. I love the beers. where do you, I love going up to Scotland. I love drinking, of course, a big Scotch whiskey drinker. I love, of course, Jeff, you love Irish whiskey. Jameson and gingers. It is clown world. But I hope, and I do feel that I do see a lot of positive changes, and I see leaders emerge, not Starmer, but I see leaders emerge. But I wanted to
start getting rid of these guys.
I wanted to touch on this, Jeff. Yesterday was the most insane single day in American foreign policy in a generation, and people missed half of it. So Iran agreed to suspend its entire nuclear program indefinitely. Of course, they say that behind bars, but then the other channels, they preach death to America. We haven't done anything. And then the feckless lefty communist leaders of Europe say, oh, I don't think that's really happening. Hey, sit down, your ass down. Okay. Cause you don't have a seat at the table. Iran agreed to never close the Strait of Hormuz again. Well, guess what? There were gunshots going off this morning. Well, our morning, but gunshots today. So you can see that they never trust them. And this is what Trump wants to show. He wants to show that they're not trusting. He wants to know he's put one deal in place, they violated, put another deal in place and violated. So what do you think is coming next? They're like, oh, Trump is feckless. He didn't win anything. Well, don't mess with the United States. That's all I have to say to you. Don't mess with Trump, because Trump is the master negotiator and Trump always wins. $0 changed hands. There were no frozen funds, Jeff. There were no pallets of cash being sent over. The U.S. naval blockade on Iran stays up to the final deal signed. So there's still a blockade there. There's a U.S. presence. Trump publicly ordered Israel to stop bombing Lebanon, used the word prohibited in all caps. Netanyahu went on live TV, admitted that he was acting on a U.S. request. Defense Minister Katz got overruled within hours, saying Lebanon ops have not yet been completed. A 10-day Israel-Lebanon ceasefire took place overnight. Displaced Lebanese civilians started walking back to their villages. Oil dropped 12% in minutes. Global equities surge. Iran's foreign minister declared the Straits of Hormuz completely open, first time since March 27th. All of this
that was Friday.
On Friday. That was yesterday.
Yep. That was
all
yesterday.
of it in one day, Jeff.
It really is amazing, to see everything that's transpired over there. But once again, most people, haven't really understood or don't dig in enough into events leading up to, and really seeing another component of all this was that Iran also agreed to stop funding their proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah. So they have other proxies around the world. But what we are going to see, and I pulled up a video on this, is that Hezbollah is well entrenched in the United States, and they are in Europe, and they've been funding all of these street campus protests. So there was a video we played a while back with a Russian spy from I don't know if he was KGB or where he came from, but he talked about the useful idiots in the West, the left in the West, and even some of the Islamists. They talk about, they always go to the left because they're accepted immediately, and that's where you have the useful idiots. Unfortunately, we're seeing some of the unhinged libertarian types that claim to be MAGA, never were conservative, but they thought they had found a home there. They weren't part of it, still not part of it, and they're unhinged as the left are unhinged. But they won't go to that level to understand and comprehend the Islamist threat on the world. So as we're seeing Europe fall to the Islamic might, we're starting to see, and there's enough evidence out there. If you don't speak Arabic, go find a translator. It's all over the place. But there's enough evidence out there. And I pulled one video clip we'll watch in a little bit, specifically talking about how they're funding all these campus protests and using the useful idiots, to the point now where it's the leftists that are leading the protest. It's a leftist waving the Hezbollah flags and the ISIS flags and the Hamas flags, and supporting this cause that the rest of the Middle East doesn't support, but it was all funded through Iranian money.
Yeah.
Vis-a-vis Obama and Biden. So
right there, Jeff.
And the Europeans too.
Read that.
Obama and Biden sent the supreme leader billions. That's right. And Trump sent them to hell. And if you go, there's a perfect video that went back and showed all the different presidents talking about Iran. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. It's, we'll make sure we're not going to allow it to happen. And so we saw it definitely predated George Bush. But, let's start with George Bush. So it goes George Bush, Obama said the same thing. But George Bush, Clinton, Clinton had, let's start with Clinton. So Clinton had said it. Then we heard George Bush talking about it. Then we heard Obama talking about it. Then you hear Biden talking about it. Then you hear Trump talk about it. But Trump actually took action. All the others kicked the can down the road. We'll never allow them to have a nuclear weapon, even though there's evidence of them building it. And then every administration talked about that. Think about 8 years under Clinton, 8 years under George Bush, 8 years under Obama, right? So think of all that time they just kept kicking the can down the road and did nothing. Yet Obama and Biden, sent billions of dollars over there.
Well, Jeff, what's funny is like people well, remember Trump said, look, the nuclear weapons, you can't do that. Everything he said about Iran, they're liars. They've lied. There's 47 years of lies, right? I mean, so remember in March, because remember they said like, oh, we don't have, our missiles can't go more than 2,000 kilometers. We can barely hit that. Well, then remember they launched an IRBM into Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. Now that's like roughly around 4,000 kilometers. Oops, over 2,000 miles away. So 4,000 kilometers. They said they couldn't shoot anything past 2,000 kilometers. And where can they hit? Oh, they can target London. Oh, they can target anywhere in Europe is basically what they can do. They've got long-range missiles. They put a nuclear warhead on it. And Keir Starmer's sitting there eating his, drinking his tea and his little crumpets or whatever. And he's getting blasted, right? What a feckless, complete, and absolute moron. This guy is the biggest pussy in the entire world. And he thinks he's just charming. And the funny part about it is, just look at the polls. He's hated. He is hated. The only person who was like less hated than him was Neville Chamberlain, and he basically appeased the Nazis. So I mean, I'm telling you what, he will go down as the most feckless prime minister of all. And there's been a bunch in a row that have been questionable. But if you guys, and the funny thing about the sad thing, what saddens me the most about the UK are the Tories. The Tories are what we call leftists over here, and we call them the Democrats. Okay, so you've got the Democrats and you got Labor, which is even further left than the so-called Tories, which are supposed to be conservative, but they act exactly like Democrats. There's nothing conservative about them. I mean, when we talk about U.S. conservatism versus like what you would call conservatives in the U.S., so they're like, oh, the conservatives didn't work. Well, of course they didn't work. Here we call them Democrats. They're losers. And then you say like, well, let's install losers with even worse ideas, and that's called Labor, right? So losers that are even bigger losers. But there's a lot of promising stuff here on the horizon in the U.S. For example, and we'll cut back to the UK in just a little bit, but potential map of the South if the Supreme Court guts Section 2 of the VRA per the New York Times. This is the current map. The current map shows 65 representatives, Democrats 24. Now, the potential map, you got Republicans 77. That's a plus 12 pickup, and the Democrats 12, which is a minus 12. So this is what it would look like. The current map on the left, you can see that the red, here's Florida down here in Georgia, Alabama, right? So this whole deep South right here is what it looks like now. So you got parts of Georgia that are blue. You got parts of Alabama, a big part of Alabama is blue. Mississippi, Louisiana, you got South Carolina, North Carolina. Tennessee is already red, so it really doesn't matter except for a little pocket over there, right? This is what it would look like. So look at what happens to Alabama, Mississippi, done. Boom. Completely all red states. Look what happens to Florida. Of course, Jeff, here's, if you look at where we are down here, unfortunately, there's Broward County right there. There's your district right here, Jeff. There's your district sitting right there. Then you got, but look at most of South Miami. You got parts of Miami-Dade. Look at all that. And you got Palm Beach County right here. But you got little pockets. And it's funny because even Jacksonville gone. So red, there's not much left. So this would be what it would equate to as a 12 up pickup. Now, it doesn't mean that it's a given, but you're talking about 12 pickups in seats, which is big. It's a big sort of a pickup there. And so
big number. Yeah.
Hopefully that will happen. There have been people out there that have said, knowing some inside information, saying it's already happened or it just hasn't been announced yet. And funny, the New York Times is sounding the alarm, and they're the fake news organization, but the reason they're sounding the alarm because it affects them, the left, and they claim to be independent people. Jeff, they're not independent; they're a bunch of losers. But what's been the most surprising to me? CNN polls. CNN's putting these polls out that's pro-Trump. They keep putting them out. This guy's like, but look at this latest poll. Now this is good, Jeff, because this is the voting bloc. The people that actually vote, they're not the young, they're the old people like me, Jeff.
Trump actually has the best approval rating at this point in the second term of all of them. Donald Trump at 40.
So what he's saying here is you have the 21st century presidents, okay? So you've got people who are age 65 and older who approve. Now this is Trump versus Bush and Obama.
Trump actually has the best approval rating at this point in the second term of all of them. Donald Trump at 44%. Obama was under 40% at 39%. George W. Bush was way down there at 34%. So Donald Trump is beating other presidents this century at this point in their second term, beating all of them. And therefore, as I said, holding his own amongst a very key voting bloc. The President of the United States and the White House should like this number, especially compared to Obama, who Trump, of course, always likes to beat.
And this was George W. Bush after he started talking about reforming Social Security.
That's a bad idea.
Among seniors, it certainly is, the so-called third rail of politics. All right, talk to me how his number may have moved a little bit, President Trump's, and what that might mean.
Okay, so, we spoke about the midterm elections. So, oftentimes I ask myself, okay, the president isn't obviously up for election this November, but Republicans in the House.
Anyway, same.
That's
that clip ended, but I mean, they just keep putting this up. I always like those guys are usually trying to quiet. Okay, great. Let's move on to something else. But his number and why isn't this? They try to always change the subject on what like the next big thing is. That's huge news, man. I mean, it's because that is the voting bloc.
It's a massive part of the voting bloc.
Yeah, those people actually go out and they actually do vote and they show up, and especially in midterms, okay? Because midterms, a lot of people are like, they're sleeping. They bitch about everything, but they don't vote. Now here we go. Here's this guy does parody. He goes under, I don't even know if this is a real name, but Lyle Culpepper. But he was taking us through. He wanted to take a look at he's I don't think that's his real name, but he does parody. Of course, this store doesn't really exist, but you get the thing. But he's going to take us through Mamdami's free grocery store, Jeff, that's coming in. What year is it coming?
29.
When he's up for re-election, I think, right before. He won't bring the store out before. He's going to talk about how great it is, just like the free buses and the bus fares went up, and he's going to cut taxes. He's raising taxes. These people, the clown show never stops. They always lie. They always do that. But he's going to make new promises.
Yeah.
$30 million?
$30 million to set up the storefronts.
Oh, my God.
Come with
on equity.
The non-binary, whatever he said. You know, the weird thing about it is somebody else will do that same video and it'll be true, right? It's like you can't tell the difference. The lines are blurred between parody and reality. Sometimes I look at stuff and I'm like, is this parody? I'm like, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's real. You know, sometimes you have to think to yourself, like, how can this be? How? So Jeff, did you know that the ARC, they Trump, they call it Trumpdom or whatever this. So Trump wants to build this ARC, right? He talked about it in his first term. This is the arch that he's going to build. So check out how freaking massive this thing is. I didn't know the size of it, but here's some size comparisons when you look at here. I'm putting on screen. So if you look at right to the left, 99 feet is a Lincoln Memorial. The White House is 70 feet tall. Look at the size of this arch. It's freaking massive, Jeff. It's like 250 feet. And the only thing taller is the Capitol. And it's only because of the dome, right? The majority of it ends here. There's nothing going on here. All the stuff happens down here. This is just, you know, right? So look at the size of that thing compared to the freaking White House, dude. It's massive.
He's really putting a mark in Washington. That's for sure.
Well, if you look at this, you know, he's not going to be outdone. The Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Arch in New York City, that's 80 feet. And then they're showing on the right, the Washington Square Arch in New York City, which is also 74 feet, a little smaller. Then you got the proposed arch in Washington, which is 250 feet tall. And if you look at it in Europe, well, it's the tallest, Jeff. And you know the trumpet will not be undone. He will be undefeated when it comes to building the biggest and the best, and that's huge. Arc of Constantine in Rome is 69 feet. You've got the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, which is 164 feet. You got the Brandenburg Gate, which is 85 feet. Then you got the Arco de Rua in Lisbon, Portugal, which is 98 feet. Look at the size of this monster. And I've been to the Arc de Triomphe, which is it's impressive, right? It's cool.
Even the Brandenburg Gate's impressive.
Yeah, the Brandenburg Gate too. So if you look at, but I mean, it's roughly around the same size. It's just got, you know, some ornaments on top here, but you'll know if you've ever been to the Arc de Triomphe, you know that landmark, if you've been there, because you look at it like you never realize how big it is until you get close to it. You're like, holy shit, that thing's pretty big, right? So it's basically roughly around the same size. It's maybe a little bit bigger, but roughly because of the statues and ornaments on top, it's even bigger. But man, you're right, Jeff. He's leaving his mark in a big way.
Yep. Then there's one in New Delhi also that's 138 feet tall. It's called the India Gate.
Interesting.
It's called Arc de Triomphe of India.
Is that what it's called?
That's what it's called.
I was unaware of that, Jeff.
It's called. It's just the India Gate.
I was totally unaware of that. I had no clue. I had no idea.
I wonder where the idea came from to start building these gates like this. Like whose first idea?
I don't know, but then everybody started building them, right?
Yeah, now they're everywhere.
Now, Jeff, let's get back to the UK. Let's get back to Europe here because
right there, India Gate.
The India Gate. Okay, where's that?
That's in New Delhi.
New Delhi. All right. I was unaware of. I mean, it's bad enough that, and Marconi's the one that's surprised me. She turned into a feckless leftist. I don't know who got to her. I don't know who threatened her family, but she went all hardcore, yay! And then she turned into a weak-minded leftist, woke-mind virus liberal. I don't know what happened to her, but she's embarrassing. You know, now she wants more immigrants coming into Italy because she says the birth rate's down. Understood, but there's better ways to figure that out. and bringing in people to destroy your culture. Nation is not it. Here's Starmer. Look at this. This guy, he's just a walking joke at this point. Look at this. Sorry, that's the wrong one. I put the wrong one up. Hang on a second. Yeah. There we go. Here it is. Here it is right here.
Mr. Keir Starmer arriving now, Élysée Palace in Paris. He is going to meet the French President, Emmanuel Macron. The agenda item is what they and other world leaders can do to aid in the efforts to reopen the Straits of Hormuz.
What? These guys, they're gonna. This is so funny. Now look at this, Jeff. This is what I'm talking about. You're like, it's parody, right? They're gonna figure out how to open up the straits, right? They didn't let us access our bases. They wouldn't let us land and refuel. We weren't asking for help. We wanted to refuel planes, and they said no. But look at this. So this is breaking. So Mertz, Starmer, Macron, and Maloney issue a joint announcement in Paris saying they're sending a naval mission to the Hormuz Strait to protect freedom of navigation. Are you effing kidding me? Do you remember when Keir Starmer sent his ship over there, and then it got there and broke down?
It broke down. It's
look
so
at this. For them. If you want to look at what effectless looks like,
right? I was just say, look at that right there.
Macron.
These guys are clowns. Look at, they don't even seem like strong leaders. They're all just weak.
Maloney, what a disappointment she turned out to be. My God. But I love the EU got played. The new prime minister of Hungary, president, he's even more hard than the previous one. You know, it's unbelievable. They got played, and it's the greatest thing ever. And wait till he takes over for van der Leyen. I mean, it's going to be just incredible.
Did you see what Trump just posted on Truth Social? He said, "Has anybody looked at how badly the country of Spain is doing? Their financial numbers, despite contributing almost nothing to NATO, and their military defense are absolutely horrendous. Sad to watch."
No, I gotta share that with my friend Lionel, who has a real hard time because Trump's hated throughout the entire world. Meanwhile, you had the Iranian people saying saying that they will be the most celebrated foreign leader of all time. I mean, going in, like you said, Jeff, every president talked about it. Look at this headline: breaking. European leaders announced today they're sending help to capture Venezuela's narco dictator Nicolas Maduro. You know, a day late and a pound or $1 short, basically. And these people they're just absolutely, I mean, they're going to open up I mean, they're going to open up the strait. They had nothing to do with it, but they're banding together and they're tough and they put together a plane. Jeff, here you go. I had this video up earlier, but this is some live video of the European leaders helping Trump. So what it is, if you guys are listening, it's a subway train comes by. The guy pretends to stop it, pretends like he's opening the door. People get in. He's a worker there, right? So people all stumble in on the subway. He pretends like he's closing the doors. Now he's going to push it off. That is the Europe helping the U.S. right there. That's about the size of it.
So Iran did just announce less than an hour ago that they're reclosing the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, and you know what's going to happen? Fire and brimstone coming.
What do these guys think they're playing with? I mean, they obviously, everybody knows you can't trust them. Can't trust any of the terrorist organizations, even though the leftists and the libertarians love to be able to trust them. They want to take all their media, as truth and fact. It was funny. I forget, one of these people that we know on X had posted something, commenting to something, and someone else said his comment to him was like, "Oh, now that the media agrees with your opinion, you believe it, but you don't believe any of the other media except for that media, right? And the media is coming from a terrorist organization, but you'll 100%. Believe their media, or from like Iran. It's coming from Iran, Hezbollah, or it's coming from Hamas or from the Palestinians, whatever it is. All of these entities are well versed in subterfuge of media, and a lot of people are new to it, so they're like, "Oh, we got to take it at face value," because their media, it's like Al Jazeera So all the other outlets are going to be equally as truthful. But yet, here we go. Just go back and see what these people do. It's horrible. The things it's just horrendous, and the evidence is there. You just have to go and find it. They've seen it, but like in parts of Lebanon, and Hamas is notorious for it. Palestinians are notorious, where they'll make a claim that a building was attacked, and they'll take a dead infant from a morgue, and they'll bring them around from site to site to site and bury them in rubble, unbury them when the media is there. They'll cart their people around in ambulances, and then when an ambulance gets hit, they'll say, "Oh, look, they're targeting ambulances," but the ambulance is a carrier for the terrorists to move around. Like, all this stuff happens on a regular basis, and yet, I mean, I guess, is it a good thing that people look at everything through rose-colored glasses and they never want to see the reality? Maybe they have a better, easier existence when they just want to see everything through rose-colored glasses. But, you got to live in reality. And the Iranians, we can't. What do you expect? This is their thing. They're known. They should win an Oscar. If there was an Oscar award for deception, I think Iran would probably take the Oscar every single time.
Oh, without fail, Jeff. 100% without fail. So here we go. Let me see. What is this video? Here we go. Here's another live feed of Europeans helping the Americans. Ready? Keep your eye on the guy with the hat.
Yeah, I love it.
There they are helping. Guy standing around while people are moving stuff. He's pretending like he's moving it or touching it, and walks around, and then he picks up a garbage off the ground. Guy's really crushing it, isn't he? Yeah. Everybody else is hustling. Look at there you go. There's Europe helping the U.S. Thank you.
Looks like his boot is.
Then he goes and gets the water. This is fantastic. Everyone else is hustling, moving stuff off a truck, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta put the water down and go help." He pretends like he's touches a box. There you go. Europe helping the United States. Fantastic. What a great. Meanwhile, everyone's laughing at Europe right now over in the U.S. I'm like, great, be conquered, man. I mean, good luck. Enjoy, have at it. What a just an abs. You want to know why? Here's what I figured out, Jeff. I saw this video and immediately I thought to myself, I figured out why Europe doesn't know what's going on, because they spend money on stupid things like this instead of, well, I don't know, maybe an army or maybe a navy or maybe a couple missiles. I don't know, but this is what they spent a shit ton of money on, Jeff. Look at this. Now, if you're wondering, you're like, what is this? Well, this is a tiny city that somebody spent 40 million pounds on, or euros on, 40 million euros, 11 years to build this tiny little city. But why don't you take care of your regular city before you start building tiny cities? Because you know what? That tiny city is going to get wrecked at some point, just like your city. Now look at this thing. It's, it's cool. Here comes a jet. It's going to land. It looks like it comes through some I don't know where it's off screen, and it's on a little hoist, and here it comes in, and there you go. Oh, look at the jet. It comes in and it lands on a fake runway in a fake city. Lufthansa jet. Everyone's watching. Oh wow, look at that. It just landed. Isn't that impressive?
What's up? I'm in a 45 million euro miniature world.
45 million.
Take a look. Later. All right, so behind me is Monaco, one of the first places you'll see. So this costs about 5 million euros to make in over 150,000 man hours. And it even has a live camera to show you the race. This is in real time.
This is funny, Jeff. They actually have
time. They have their own kind of Formula One channel that they develop.
Look at this.
Take a look at the details. Took 11 years to develop. That right there is Supercar Bondi reviewing a car. But look at this. Wow. Look how tiny she is.
That's so cool.
Next time you're in miniature Wonderland.
That's what they're spending money on instead of figuring out how to screw their countries.
Mount Rushmore with Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. Now below Mount Rushmore, you have this little base, but here we have a button that says Area 51. So watch what happens if I press it, because it's actually underground, just like the real thing.
Oh my God.
So there you have like a spaceship, maybe being reverse engineered. Maybe some American black projects, top secret right here. You have the little planning board right there, like Where are the aliens
on?
at? Show us the
45 million
aliens.
euros.
You got Las Vegas. So in the middle, you have the Luxor, that's the pyramid. And then you have all the whole kind of amusement parks inside the city.
Cool,
King Kong's at the top of the tower. Do you see that in the middle? And then you have,
Rose City.
rockets taking off.
Rocket, it's a space shuttle.
And on this side, you have the more deserty area. So America took 99,000 hours to build. The layout size is 100 meters squared. The track length is 1,400 meters. There's 140 trains and about 70,000 LEDs. Obviously, if you look around, you have a lot of trees. So there's 10,000 trees, 800 cars, and 400.
Anyway, that's a long video, Jeff, but I just wanted to show that little bit
Where
of it.
was it? Where is that place?
I don't know where it is. I don't know where. Let me see. It's it doesn't say where.
Tiny village in Ireland. No,
It doesn't say where it's from. Some guy posted it. He says we're there at this miniature world, but he never says where they're actually at. Starmer went over to Europe. He went over to Saudi Arabia. He was going to go get an oil deal done. Going to get an oil deal done. You know what happened? They said, get the F out. No oil deal. Cent pounding. I mean, what an incredible loser on such an epic proportion level this guy is.
He's such a beta.
He's such a oh my God. It's just like, go hide somewhere, dude. Just go hide because you're just pathetic on every level. And then this, Jeff, look at this here. Check this out. So Sharon Osbourne is part of this, a homelessness charity. And so this is from Tommy Robinson. So the headline reads, Center Point to cut ties with Sharon Osbourne after she backs Tommy Robinson rally. Homelessness charity distances itself after Osbourne says she plans to attend far-right Unite the Kingdom march. Tommy Robinson said the left are sick and deranged. They're mentally ill. They'll let homeless people suffer because Sharon supports a united kingdom. That's what it's called, the UK. Let that level of depravity sink in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is this, Jeff? What actually is this stuff? And one other note here.
The crypto virtual city. Whatever happened to that? I don't know what happened to that.
Yeah, remember that?
They were talking about that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that either. Something. But what's funny, Jeff, is that left are starting to eat themselves. They took out Swalwell. Okay, the left took out Swalwell. Here they are. Now here's Ro Khanna, who's going to run for president. Dope. California dope. He wants Schumer to step down. Look at this.
Schumer was one of only 7 Democrats to vote to send bulldozers to Israel. 40 Senate Democrats voted no. These bulldozers are used to illegally destroy.
So Chuck Schumer actually did something right, and he's getting chastised.
Palestinian villages. Mr. Schumer, you are out of touch with the base of this party and with your own caucus.
The base of the party, but not the majority of the United States. Okay?
Step aside.
If they're calling for their own, Jeff, they're starting to eat themselves. And the one thing I've always respected about the Democrats is they were always united. They didn't care what happened, what controversy. They were like united. You're not going to sway them. The Republicans throw them under the bus. Oh yeah, but distance ourselves from that. Now they're starting to eat their own, and it's glorious. And I can't get enough of it. And I do have to bounce, Jeff. I'm going to let you take us out of here because I got a bolt. I got an appointment. I got to run. I'm 2 minutes late. So, guys, have a good one. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
See ya.
Chip out.
Yeah.
See ya.
All right. We got 2 things that we're going to get into. So actually, this is I think this one is going to be a lot of fun to play. So let me pull this up. Let me make sure. Oh no, this wasn't. Hang on. Let me see if this is the right one. So this one here. Oh yeah, here we go. We're gonna end with this. This is a funny new video release for Trump. So let me pull this one up here. Here we go. Add it to the stage. Here we go. Let's roll with this. Oh, you know what? Probably not sharing audio. Give me 1 second. Let's throw up this one. Actually, there were a couple good articles to cover here, but let me throw this one up here real quick. This video. Here we go. Reset. Here we go.
The world is mine, well, let's get back. You talked all that smack, so you got clapped. Your Ayatollah's gone, I'm the motherfucking Dawn. Big fish in a small pond. Now these pups squat up on my hook as I cook, cause I took the straight, now they shook. Dummies hold they breath, they wanna diss me, make them crispy. Fry 'em up like cappers from the Mississippi. Leader unseen, just a lip dick dancing queen. We see you women, fuck it up, no one cover it up. Bow down before your bridges all fall. The 7 special forces running up on your fucking peas. We on the seas, getting the Chinese on their knees, begging Trump please. Before any motherfuckers act hard, will the rewind my part, fool, and bow down. When I come to your town, bow down. When I'm Persian bound, bow down. Before I drop a crater or two, bow down to the dog who's a greater than you.
I don't know where people come up with this stuff. It's just nonstop. Yeah, Jim D actually. So X Spectre, they have shifted, they have grown a little bit. I have not been into their platform in quite a while, but they were definitely making some huge progress and some big developments in that space, which is really kind of net positive with X Spectre, because you've seen how they've kind of grown up and how they've done some really great things overall. And they hung in there, bootstrapped a lot of it on their own. And so if you look at kind of the developers and project and focus, man, those guys have really put a lot, a ton on the line to get exactly where they're at this point. So, but we've covered a whole bunch of great topics here. I did want to kind of leave this one. I thought this was kind of an important video to put out there. It takes us from the funny back maybe over to a little bit of somber reality. And these types of videos are evident and available over the years. There's quite a bit of them when you actually see the true intention from Hezbollah, or the true intention of what's happening. And you could look, even there's you go back, I've seen videos back in the 90s, Sesame Street videos that were for kids that were really instructional videos on martyrdom. And so let's just throw this one up real quick. So this video here, kind of interview talking specifically about Hezbollah presence in different parts of the world, and using the U.S. students, kind of the useful idiots, not just U.S. but in the West. Now it's an interesting dynamic over in Lebanon, because Lebanon used to have a very large Christian majority in Lebanon, and Lebanon used to be kind of like the Paris of the Middle East. And then you enter in backed by Iranian money, and now you have the outcome with Lebanon. And so let's put this one up. And I just think this is kind of an interesting video, kind of an important video to watch.
أعتقد أن الرهان على قدرة العرب والمسلمين على استثمار هذه التحولات التي نشهدها من خلال مشاركة الطلاب الغربيين المتظاهرين في الغرب. تم الطلاب عرب يتظاهرون في الغرب، هذا نفهمه، لكن الطلاب الغربيون الذين يتظاهرون تأييدا لفلسطين، رهاننا هو على قدرة الاستثمار على هذا التفاعل الإيجابي.
So the point of how they need to continue to support exactly what's happening and the protests, and they see it as a positive activity for these leftist
من
students
قبل هؤلاء الطلاب للمستقبل. نستثمر مع الطلاب الغربيين، بدنا ندخل إلى صلب المجتمعات الغربية.
So this is really important, right? And you look at the specific terminology here, but entering into the heart of Western societies. And so wait till you see kind of this next section, which kind of sums it up.
وبدنا نخاطب الناس بالغرب. يعني
لدينا أدوات يعني للدخول إلى
هذا التحدي ويجب أن نفعله.
So you know, when you really get into it. And so let me pull back on this one. And out of the video, hang on one second. If you get more into like their full statement, and you'll get, there's a lot more to it, you know, the total investment of their times and efforts here. But here, we're currently investing in protests and demonstrations in Western countries, especially among college students. We already have Muslim students agitating, but it's the Western students themselves who will destroy their own countries. This is the decade-old plan of Hezbollah and the Islamic regime in Iran to destroy America and Europe. And so it's exactly kind of their purpose and what they do. And, you know, you just have to be very cognizant and aware. It's crazy to think, though, that stuff like this actually goes on, and there's concerted efforts to disrupt the typical civil existence in Western countries. But we're the great Satan per the Iranian regime for many years. And Iran has done a tremendous job orchestrating and funding all of these proxy groups from the Houthis to Hamas to Hezbollah that have disrupted many years of disruptions throughout the Middle East. And if we think about, in the absence of that, how economically prosperous the entire Middle Eastern region could be if they would just kind of relax a bit on the Islamist rhetoric. But we just have to be cognizant of things that happen on a regular interval. Why do we have to be cognizant? Because a lot of it's coming here right to our backyards. So anyhow, I thought that would be a good wrap up. Tomorrow night, we will be back here on the chain, back Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Always appreciate all of you guys for being here with us. Some new faces that pop in that are relatively new with us, that are continuously posting in the chat as well. So love to see you guys. Like seeing some of the old personalities that have been popping in lately as well, like Bird Dog, who's an OG in the space, and OG here with On the Chain as well. So always good to see everybody here with us. And we'll be back tomorrow night, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that, we are out of here. Check you guys out on the next one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.